We're joined now by Chunjuan Nancy Wei on Skype. She's an associate professor of political science at the University of Bridgeport. Thanks so much for joining us. Do you think that this new foreign investment law in China will have any bearing on these talks?
I think it will. It has made some impact on the talk. However, I think the foreign investment law addresses the forced technology transfer and the market access. Their enforcement and mechanism could remain an issue for the Trump administration. The record high trade deficit posted in last year could be a fat political target as well. Since March last year, Washington has imposed tariffs to $200 billion worth of Chinese goods. China has retaliated as both sides have imposed tariffs to each other's goods and services. The United States saw record high imports from China in 2018. So this unprecedented bilateral trade balances could also complicate the trade talk.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. Let me talk to you about the Chinese officials, because they're saying a lot of work still needs to be done before a deal can be reached. What does a good deal look like for China? What does Beijing want in this deal?
Currently, the top U.S. negotiators are in Beijing trying to work out a deal with the Chinese side. For China, the politically sensitive issue is the Huawei and the Meng Wanzhou, the Huawei executive currently still in Canada fighting for her extradition to the United States. So that's one issue. The other one that could be also complicating the case is that United States government's campaign against Huawei being used in third parties' national infrastructure, fearing that it could be used for the espionage. So this national security consideration could be another one for China. So ideally for China, if the two countries could reach a deal on Huawei and Meng Wanzhou, it could be one of the issues on the Beijing's list to achieve. Yeah. The other one Beijing might want to achieve is the tariff cancellation from Trump administration's future moves. The last one could be the ways that the recent issue about the Boeing, the plane, the 737 MAX 8.
Yeah, but the U.S. president is saying he may keep some tariffs still in place. That's not going to sit well with Beijing, is it?
Correct. For Chinese leaders and Chinese people, the issue of the century of humiliation has been etched in their mind for so long. Beijing does not want to be seen as caved into Trump administration's unilateral moves on China's retaliation on China.
Now, let's say they are able to arrive at some sort of consensus, and President Xi and President Trump sign off on this at a later date. How long do you think before things start to thaw out, so to speak? Because this has been a really frosty relationship over the last year.
That's true. It's important to take a look at what are the things that China imported from the United States. Typically, on the top three list is the airplane and soybeans and the autos. These three are all important for Trump administration to make sure on the following issues. One is the market access. The other one was the enforcement and intellectual property rights. Followed by Chinese government's subsidies on state-owned enterprises. So if these issues could be solved, I see that President Xi and President Trump have an opportunity to sit down and sign the agreement.
Nancy, before you go, what do you think the likelihood of that is? I mean, how soon do you think before we actually can see a deal?
It looks like they are getting close, but there remain some sticking points. So it will depend on how the two negotiators in Beijing, how much they can achieve.
All right, Nancy, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.